Good morning. All right, this is the second part about my little adventure in Japan. It's always cold, obviously. That's why I can't wait to make those videos in the t-shirt and without my my hoodie, my beanie. So there are a few things about like Tokyo that happened when I was there that I forgot because in the first video I was already in Joetsu. So one thing was that basically when we were wandering around Tokyo, there was some kids and not really kids, like even adults. They were playing with some like how can I say little cars. They go by battery, but they're not. They don't have a controller. So literally, they have there is the the truck, and those little car literally go only in one direction, so they had to follow the truck. So the truck basically guide them. Now, how does how does it work? It doesn't work about obviously how you control it. So the best won't be the one that can control the car better, but it depends how you build it. So the way you how you make it more aerodynamic, and the way, and yes, basically it's how you make it, how you build it, like it's the aerodynamic of the car, so that makes it go faster and so on. So now, why I was so excited to see it, because when I lived in Italy as a young kid, there was a cartoon, because I think I said that, actually I didn't say. So in Italy, all the cartoons are Japanese. So I grew up basically watching only Japanese cartoon, because that was basically the only things that in Italy you could watch. And so obviously I grew up with this idea of Japan based on the cartoons. And one of those cartoons was it was about those little car. And and at the time I remember I even it was very popular, so I ended up buying it, and actually did a couple of races. It was really fun. So obviously when I saw it in Tokyo, I was really excited, and I wanted to join. Really like a little kid asking to my girlfriend at the time, like if she could get me in, and she did the inquiry, but it was a bit like long process to actually join, and you had to buy the car and blah blah blah. So also it would take so long. So at the end we gave up, a bit sad, but it was so funny, and there was so many people. That's like what is funny is that obviously, like watching Japanese cartoon, my idea of Japan was shaped by then. But now, what is funny is that I remember when talking to Kaori about Japan and telling her about, I know that in Japan they do this, I know that in Japan they do that. She was surprised that I knew so much about the culture. And the funny thing is that I knew because the cartoons was actually depicting like a lot of the real Japanese culture. So I would say that, well, I mean, I would say probably in a certain way makes sense, because if you think about it, like if if a country create cartoons, they will using a lot of the local culture in the cartoon, so that makes sense. Yes, obviously the story will be might be most of the time fantasy, but it will be there will be a lot of the local culture. So actually, in a certain way, did make sense that I knew a lot of it, because they were showing, they were making cartoon, showing a lot of what was going on over there. But it was funny that like telling about like, oh, I know that in Japan they do this, oh, I know that in Japan they do that, and knowing that I never been there, obviously she was kind of like, oh, like, how do you know? So that was it was, I mean, it was funny for me as well, realizing that like while that now that I was in the real, in the reality, and not in a cartoon, but actually a lot of that in the cartoons was actually what really is going on in that country. That was nice. Now there was another thing that this is, I think, is all in Japan. Is a really Japanese thing. So we went to a restaurant to eat something for lunch, and I remember to be surprised that they had literally display all the food they make. Literally, they had the plates with the food displayed for customers, so they could see how the food looked like. And I was like, I remember like at first thinking, how they made all those plates just for display, and like eventually they will go a bit moldy, will lose colors, and won't look nice anymore. I mean, and then what, like every day they're gonna make, they make like this. That's crazy. And when I go to touch it, it was just plastic. So now, this is all Japanese. Well, now it's like, because of internet and so on, it's spreading up a little bit, even in other countries. Even if I see rarely nowadays, it's still, I mean, I think it's still just a Japanese thing. So a lot of restaurants in Japan, to obviously, one thing seeing on picture, and another thing is seeing like in front of you real, or I mean, like, is to give you an idea about the plate, about what you're gonna eat. Obviously, it gives you a better understanding of how it will look like. Now, there are basically companies that are capable to recreate in plastic or whatever material. I don't know if it's I think it's plastic, but anyway, they are capable to recreate exactly like a version of that plate. Like, but what is incredible is that the pasta or the noodles or like okonomiyaki. I mean, it looks real. It looks so real that you cannot tell the difference until you touch it, and it's amazing. Like for me, it was like at first, look, it's a great idea, because you see how it looks like. It can give you like a better impression, you can have a better idea about how it's gonna be, and it can help you actually more to make a better decision about what to buy. But it was incredible. It was exactly like a real copy. Like, you could not tell the difference. Now thinking about it, there is a place in Canterbury, here in England, that run by a Japanese lady that actually sell it in Canterbury Old Town, not too far from the cathedral. and she does like sell it like cakes and so on, like basically exactly the same. I guess that she does probably even for businesses if they're interested, but that's the only case. I mean, I haven't seen it, and I never seen something like that, not even in London. So that was yeah, like that was nice. That was nice. Now just thinking if there was something else in Tokyo that no, it's just I mean, I would say there was like a few things that happened when we were there, and then we went to Joitsu. So in Joitsu, what I said in the first video, like I done some stupid things. My girlfriend done some of the stupid things. All those stupid things anyway may make the story, right? So I would say, so while I enjoyed it, so we, like, she took me around the city, and we visited the neighboring city, like Nagano, that actually it's only 30 minutes by car. So Nagano is literally next to Joitsu. So we visited Nagano, and then we went to visit some other small villages, and it was a nice trip. Like stop by some local restaurant, eating noodles or udon, and there was, it was a like I would say one of the things that impressed me was the peace. Like there was it was calm. Like it's something you notice probably. Like we are in the West, we are used to a lot of like loud noises. A lot of loud chattings or loud like shouting. While when I was there was nothing of that. You would move around and everything was just quiet. Anywhere. There was something there. It was quite, in a certain way, calming and soothing, but it was, like fascinating to see, like the difference, obviously, culturally. I mean, obviously in Japan, anything that it's loud, when you overchat or you are too, anyway, when you loud is not well seen. So everyone keep a composed like manner or way, like behavior. So now to like I lived with a family, and they have family. They had 4 dogs, first of all. That the 4 small dogs, and those 4 more, like it was already having those 4 small dogs in the house was another interesting stuff, because like going for breakfast or lunch and on a daily basis having those dogs running around was already like interesting on its own. The other things that I noticed was that we were sitting on the floor, so that for that is probably like I don't know now if things change, but I think it was quite normal at the time. So obviously for me, used to always sit on the chair, lie my back with the back, and find myself sitting on the floor wasn't like the most comfortable thing, but it was still like an interesting new way to eat food. And now, like, what happened? What happened? So there are many little things that happen, and then there are some like big things. So one of those big things was when literally we had one of the first snows, and in that period that they were celebrating, it's called the Fire Wish. So around the town you had the big fires, they were burning, like wood and so on. And what you do, you write a wish on a piece of paper, and then you burn it, like you said, the flame, the burned paper will go fly, we fly up in the sky, and it's believed that the wish will reach God, then and your wish will be granted. So all around those place where they were celebrating, there would be always someone selling food and alcohol. And in Italy we have something similar. We call it falò, but you don't write wish on a paper and burn it. Now I can't actually remember what exactly why we do it, but we do once a year, celebrate something. And who knows, that maybe it's originated by the same things that then spread up around the world, who knows, but it could be. So nothing, we were looking these people burning wish, and we were drinking. So now, because I was the only foreigners, probably one of the really, really rare foreigners enjoy it, so everyone was curious, and especially like friends of Kaori, they would invite us for dinner because they were, interested to meet a Gaijin. And that's what happened while we were there. So there's this bunch of guys came to us, and interested about me. They invite us to go with them to see them performing with a traditional Japanese drum. And so for me it was wonderful because I knew about it, never seen it before live. So we went to like a shed or garage where the guy with the friends, they performed for me basically. That was great. And after performing, they offer us more drink. So we started drinking and chatting without realizing that it was really, really late. And so when we realized that, we stayed way too long, so we went to get a taxi, and we keep falling down in the snow, starting to fight each other. And once we got the taxi, we arrived home, there was Kaori's mother outside the door crying because we went back home so late. Like we were supposed, well, I didn't know, but we were supposed to have a dinner. I think at 7 or 8 o'clock, and we went back home at 11 midnight, drunk. And so she was mad. She was mad. The day after, we sit on the table all together, and really upset. She was, blaming me, obviously, because I was supposed to look after her daughter, and actually I let all of this happen, that in a certain way she was kind of right. And so that was already the first time she started to not like me. Now, I guess the second time was when she got inside the bathroom and I forgot to lock, and I was naked, basically cleaning my ass, facing the door, and she opened the door, and basically she got in front of her, my big ass, with me, with cleaning my ass with the paper. from taking a shit. So that was another thing that added a bit more problems with her. But that bathroom was a wonderful thing. So in now I don't know if it's all in Japan, but definitely in the mountain where it's very cold in winter, like some family they have those baths that are filled up with water and keep it warm constantly. So when obviously in a very cold winter, a snowing winter, you go back home, you just jump inside those warm baths. You just lying there, relaxing, regenerating in the warm bath. And this in their bathroom, they had a window facing the outside. So while you were there, you could enjoy, like all the snow, the outside. That I think it was another really nice touch. And this is something else that I saw in Japan. I mean, at least don't know. I never seen anywhere else in Europe, but except or at least in the country I visit, and definitely nothing like this in Italy. The other things was the heated toilet bowl. Literally, you sit. Like in winter, at least in many countries in Europe, in winter you sit to take a shit, and it's freezing. So the first impact obviously is never really nice. But in Japan they have those heated toilet bowl where you sit, and it's so warm. And the other things that I love that you don't need, so in Italy, for example, like we have next to it, we call it bidet. So where after you take a shit, you sit on the bed and then you run the water, and with your hands you wipe down the dirt. While in Japan, while you're sitting on the bowl, you press a button and there is water coming through your ass, cleaning it up. So all you need is a bit of piece of paper and wipe it down. That for many years I thought to import the business in Europe, but I've never done it. Now, in the house there was, so Kaori had two brothers, and Katsu and Yuki. Katsu was married and had a daughter and lived that I met. They lived in a neighboring town, while Yuki lived with the family. So in Japan, due to the really stressful culture, a lot of Japanese are not capable to handle it. So a lot of them, they literally decide to become some sort of hermit. So some of them decide to spend the rest of their life in their room. So they recreated their own world there, and they don't live anymore. Then you have different degrees of this kind of psychological problem that is very common in Japan. Then you have a son that does go to work, but then when they finish work, they just go back home and lock themselves in the house or in the room. So Kaori's brother Yuki, he was what they call otaku. So otaku is those people that decide to close any relationship with the outside world. While Yuki, he was not an extreme case, but he would go to work. He was a mechanic, and then go back home. Having dinner or lunch with the family, but then spend the rest of his day in the room. And now, as I said, like yesterday, I don't want to start to talk about what I think is wrong about their culture, but it's really the society, the system in Japan really takes away your soul. And that's the reason, basically, that takes away your soul, that takes away your personality. So now, if you are unable, for whatever reason, to accept that, it becomes really hard to go through the day. So this is like, especially if you are very sensitive, that's normally the case for artists. And that's the reason why a lot of the most, very famous, so famous anime directors, of manga writer, they actually, at some point, they were, or they still being otaku, because what happened is basically leaving society, locking themselves away from any external conditioning. It's allowed them to unleash their potential that that would otherwise would be probably taken away, or obstructed by this Japanese society that where you work crazy hours with a very little rest. And I remember Kaori's brother going to work in the morning, maybe I think like 8 o'clock, so leaving at 7, coming back at 7 or 8, eating, sleeping on the couch sometime, and then I go to work. It was like something insane, and this sort of normality in Japan. Now, changing like a subject, another thing that impressed me, that it was so different than the culture I was used to, as it was New Year Eve. So because I was there in winter and got to, I went through basically New Year Eve, so in the West, in Italy, New Year Eve is a day where to celebrate, to have fun, and we used to do it, like I still now, fireworks, and then like people will have a small, I don't know how to call it, like small bombs, or anyway, stuff that you can blow up, make noise, and celebrate the New Year. So I would say, well, in short, it's a very noisy and loud celebration. While in Japan was completely different and beautiful at the same time, because we were eating, so, waiting for midnight. But then at midnight, I was expecting, fireworks, people on the street, like celebrating, in Japan it was completely the opposite. It is midnight and it is silence. And then all you hear is just the dawn from the local temple, boom, boom, where basically at midnight, people, to celebrate New Year, they go to the local temple to pray, make a wish. So it's what we did. So it was snowing, it was night, it was snowing, it was silent, and all you could hear was in the distance dongs from the big bell. Dum. Imagine it to be a night in the darkness with the snow coming down, and you all quiet and silent. You hearing only the sound of the bell. It was one of the most beautiful memories I hold from that trip. There was many beautiful things, but that was the most magical. And to be honest, makes more sense. It actually makes more sense, because what is new here is nothing. It's just another day. You know, obviously we created rules where the year start to a certain point and ends to a certain point. So then when it ends, we think we are in a new year, and then we do all the crazy stuff to celebrate. But it doesn't really exist except in our mind. Technically, every day is a new year. So this is like it tells you how society is made up by humans, or maybe not humans, maybe it's made by someone else. I'm not gonna touch this subject either. So, but they can, we can tell whatever story we want. You teach this story to kids, the kids will replicate the story and becomes the so-called reality. It should tell you how reality is actually does bloody not exist. It's an illusion in our mind. But anyway, that was wonderful. I will never forget. It was wonderful. But the other things I learned living in Joitsu, and obviously living somewhere with so much snow, is how hard it is to live in the mountain. I mean, obviously I was helping, so like in the morning I would take out the snow so the father could leave and go to work, and then in the afternoon take the snow out because the father have to coming back, and obviously the various complication, walking in the snow, had to be, being careful to the ice, and so on. So it was beautiful, but then sometimes you realize, like, geez, that's hard, taking the snow out of the roof. Otherwise, the heavy snow they will break it. Now, there is something else that I just remember. I remember Kaori took me to visit Takeshi Castle. Why the castle was, well, first because it was beautiful on its own, but when I met her first, I remember she showed me a picture. I remember telling me where she lived, and at the time, not knowing anything about Japan, I thought that she really lived in that building. And I think that happened a night we were a bit drunk, and then we never, got back to the conversation. So I really thought she lived there. So when we were in Joitsu, and she actually took me to the castle, to Takada Castle. That was, the castle at the time when I think the area was called Takada. And she told me, "Hey, this is my house," and we laughed. It was so funny. Only a few years later to realize that was the castle of the local rulers of the time. So the adventure in Japan ended up when one day I took a towel, and with the towel started to have fun, tried to hit the legs of Kaori to the point that I hit it so strong that she got hurt. And this is in front of his mother, in front of her mother. So now she wasn't really happy about me. That was the cherry on top, and she was mad. So she was so mad that I felt so bad that I decided that was time to leave. And I think I got a flight ticket back to Perth, and 2 days later I was back in Perth. And that was the end of the trip. I was thinking if there was something else that maybe I missed about the time in Jordan. I mean, there are obviously a lot of small things. You know, that obviously if I start to tell about every single detail, I would be here, like probably, you know, I could make hours of videos, but it's nice just to telling the story. I don't know, it makes me feel better telling the story, but I would say this is like I went to play basketball one day with her friends. Obviously, I was like a giant compared to the average height of Japanese. And yeah, I mean, it was just wonderful adventure. You know, it was just something to write on my life book. Well, hopefully to keep having this kind of adventure over and over again. Have a good day to everybody, and I'm getting ready to go to work and have some breakfast.